SARC, or a sexual assault referral centre, is a place where somebody who's been raped or sexually assaulted can attend or contact and get advice. I think it offers a bit of reassurance when something absolutely awful and devastating has happened, that you've got somewhere that you can ring at any time of the day or any time of the night and be told and informed and reassured about what you can do next. We've got 2 sites. We have one site in Greater Manchester and we have one site in Liverpool. The site in Manchester has what we call an integrated service. So we offer forensic examinations to men, women and children. They can be acute, which is when somebody's been quite recently assaulted, or they can be what we call historic, where it could be for a child, a young person, or sometimes an adult who's been assaulted some time ago. If you want to access the service, it can be done over the phone.
We work during the daytime, but we also answer the phones out of hours and over the weekend.
That would be your first step if you wanted to refer as what we call a self-referral, which would be you ringing the centre, or a family member or a friend or a work colleague or whoever ringing the centre and getting some advice. The other way of being referred into the centre is that you've already spoken to another service about what's happened that would contact us on your behalf and make that referral into the centre.
We get referrals from the police, from social care. GPs often signpost to our service as well. If we receive a referral, you'll be aware that a referral has been made to us and then we reach out to you.
You might not really be sure what we offer. You might not really be sure what you need. And I think part of our role is to listen to you, to offer you advice, to offer you your options and to see what you want to do and what your next steps will be. And with that, we can offer you support around accessing those next steps, either you doing it yourself and us explaining where you can go next, who you can speak to, or us assisting you with that and supporting you through that.
When you arrive at SARC, you're welcomed by one of our crisis workers.
Regardless of who you attend with, you'll always find the crisis workers and the doctors wearing the full set of PPE. This is nothing to worry about. It's purely to eliminate any transferring of DNA from us onto anything throughout the examination.
They will take you into a room, we call it the initial room, where they'll have a chat and just explain what we can offer. They make sure that you're okay about being here.
We want to talk you through the process. We want you to understand what's going to happen, and we want you to know that you're going to be in control through that whole process.
If you've brought somebody with you and you're feeling very anxious and you want that person in the room with you as well, that's perfectly fine.
If you attend SARC and you're brought by the police will usually speak to the doctor.
We will generally speak to police officers in another room whilst the crisis worker is speaking to the client and making sure that they feel comfortable. And that's to minimise the amount of times that you need to tell your story about what's happened to you, because that can often be the most distressing part. We'll come into the room and introduce ourselves, and then we'll go through the consent process with you.
You can decide how much of the process you wish to continue with. If you get here and you've changed your mind, or you change your mind whilst you're with us, that's absolutely fine. For officers that attend the centre, they may be from the Child Protection Unit, or they may be PCs that have never attended the centre before. And I guess it's really important for them to understand how traumatic this is for the client to attend. And we'd always ask to give people space and time and compassion.
I think often with police, it might be that you're particularly focused on evidence collection. And people are often talking about a term that we try and discourage people from using, which is the forensic window. But we mustn't forget that sometimes people will sustain injuries as a result of an assault, and those injuries may persist for much longer. When you come into the medical room, you would be brought in by the crisis worker. The doctor's often already in front of you and will be in that room making sure that everything is ready for you. And then you'd be asked to go behind the curtain on your own and remove whatever articles of clothing you're comfortable with and put on an examination gown. We're very keen to make sure that we're preserving people's dignity at all times and keeping them as covered up as possible. If you've been bitten, kissed, licked as part of the assault, maybe if you've been grabbed and you've got some bruising over an area, we might be taking swabs, so like little cotton buds, trying to pick up surface DNA, saliva, or other types of body fluids. It's not just about samples from the genital area, it's also other types of forensic samples that we might be able to retrieve. In terms of the examination that we do, where we're going to have a careful look at your genital area, this is only a really small part of the whole examination process. It's often the thing that people are really anxious about. We're very mindful of that, and we will deliberately leave that part of the examination until the end.
Throughout this time, the crisis worker will be there. They'll be able to talk to you, reassure you, offer you support. If at any point you feel distressed, we're there to speak on your behalf and again to make sure that you're happy to carry on with the process.
Understandably, people are really worried when they tend after a sexual assault that they may have been exposed to some kind of sexually transmitted infection, and we will give advice about when the appropriate time is to test for infection. And sometimes we can give people kits or we can signpost them to local clinics. If you want to attend the centre as what we call a self-referral, where you haven't yet decided whether you want to have the police involved, then we will see you and do exactly the same examination that we would if you were here with the police, but we will store your samples so that all that evidence has been secured. We can't offer people complete confidentiality because sometimes we will pick up reasons why we might need to refer somebody to the safeguarding team. We see lots of people with vulnerabilities, and in order to help keep them safe going forward, we might have to involve colleagues from other agencies. We do encourage people to try and involve their GP in this journey with them, because sometimes people might need to seek assistance afterwards. They maybe need time off work or off school or college. It's quite helpful usually for people to have their GP involved.
An independent sexual violence advisor is somebody who supports clients who have experienced a crime of sexual assault or rape, and we guide you throughout the police and criminal justice process.
There's different ways that people can get an ISVA. One of the main ways is that people can self-refer into the ISVA service. So they will just contact our admin team who will take that referral from you. We also accept referrals from different agencies, and we also get referrals as well if someone's been in for a forensic medical examination. So we've got a number of different specialties within the adult team and the child team. So we have an online exploitation ISVA, we've got a child sexual exploitation ISVA, we've got a learning disabilities and autism ISVA, we've got a male ISVA. So the admin team and the referral coordinators would have a look at which ISVA that would sit best with, and then we get allocated that referral and we'll contact you within 5 working days to go through the role of the ISVA and the support that we can offer. We work really closely with all the different aspects of the service that we've got here, from the doctors to the counsellors to the crisis workers, and we all work together to make sure that you're supported.
With the investigation, we keep in close contact with the police. They will obviously keep in close contact with yourself as well. We're independent from the police, but we do work very closely with them, and I think it's important to make you feel comfortable that we're all working together.
We also get a lot of people being told by different agencies that if they do a video interview, they might not have to go to court. So we're there to make sure that you've got all of the correct information to support you through that process and make sure that you can make informed choices off that information as well.
Your video interview is used in the court so that you don't have to go into court and stand up and talk about what's happened. You're then questioned based on what you've said on that video interview.
Once the video interview, otherwise known as an ABE, Achieving Best Evidence, is done, sometimes it can then feel a little bit quiet from the police while they're doing that investigation. And that's where we come in to make sure that you're getting regular updates from the police, even sometimes just hearing from the police officer that they're still looking into things. If there's a police investigation, sometimes the police might make a request to us for any notes that we hold, but we would discuss that with you and make sure we've got consent to share that information. Once the police have concluded their investigation, we'll make sure that you've got all of the information that you need as to what happens next. We work closely with the police to make sure that you are offered a joint visit if that would suit you best while the officer delivers that information. and support you through that process. So if it was to be no further action, we would make sure that you're aware of your options for what happens next, such as the victim's right to review. But if there was to be delivering you a charging decision, we'd make sure you've got all the information to prepare you for the next stages of that process. When it goes to the Crown Prosecution Service, what that process will look like, making sure that you're aware of special measures, which is ways that people can give their evidence where they wouldn't have to sit in front of the defendant.
Often children are offered a Section 28. Vulnerable adults are offered Section 28, which allows you to give your evidence pre-recorded, and that video is played at the trial, so you don't have to be present for that. If people have real anxiety about actually physically attending a court, you can do video link from the St Mary's Centre as well. Other special measures include things such as the judges removing their wigs and gowns, screens whilst you're actually physically in the court so that the defendant can't see you and you can't see them.
Going to court for anyone is a worry. It's probably a new experience that you've not had to go through before, and we completely understand that. So we work closely with the witness service at the court so that you're reassured that you're not going to bump into the defendant on the day, you're not going to be sat next to any of their family, you'll be completely separate and away from them, and that's why we promote the pre-trial visits, so that you get that reassurance that you're going to be safe if you do have to go to court.
We explain everything. We'll talk to you about possible scenarios, possible outcomes. We obviously can't say for sure how it's going to go.
Once the trial has concluded, we will support with the verdict of that, whether that be guilty, not guilty or hung jury. If it was to be a not guilty, it doesn't mean that you've not been believed, but we will again support you with that, and you will not be on your own throughout that process.
The build up to the trial can be really intense. It can take a long time to get to trial, from the day you report to the day of the actual trial date, and that can be for various reasons. And once the trial is concluded, a lot of people do think you're going to be okay and we're done now. But for yourself, it's not quite so clear cut. We stay involved for a period of time just to ensure that the appropriate services are involved, that things are stable for you, and we just make a plan for how we continue to help you heal. The ISFA's offered to you. It's up to you if you accept it, but we're here with you to guide you in whatever way that we can throughout the entire process until it concludes. I think the most positive thing for having an ISFA is having that continuity of somebody by your side all the time. And although it is a really stressful period of time, we're there to try and make things as easy as we can.
There are differences between an ISFA and a counsellor. An ISFA will support a person going through the criminal justice process, and very much counselling comes along after that point.
So we're a short to medium NHS counselling service that is really there to sort of address the impact of sexual assault and sexual violence, such as PTSD, flashbacks, nightmares.
Counselling is a talking therapy going on that journey in terms of expressing how we feel on the inside. And really what we're doing with the counselling is releasing that pressure valve in terms of letting those thoughts and feelings out.
Whether it's been an acute or historic assault, there doesn't necessarily need to be a police report. However, if there's been prolonged child abuse, we would usually expect a police report at some stage, even if it means that it's not going through the criminal justice process now. We call it pre-trial therapy, and what that means is that the person is going through some sort of investigation. And it doesn't mean that we do anything differently. You know, the counselling remains very much client-centred, trauma-informed. But what we are more mindful of is not to talk about the police case, and we just need to be transparent that courts can request counselling notes.
Part of my role is to facilitate art therapy, and it can be specifically used when you find it difficult to articulate in words how you're feeling as a result of your trauma. And it is a mix of visual and verbal communication. There can be symbols occurring within the artwork, and it's very important that we as therapists don't label the symbols as we see it. We actually work with the child or adult in terms of, what does this mean to you? I noticed this. And it kind of builds up a conversation really in terms of what might be going on for somebody.
It's one-to-one, it's a mutual relationship between client and counsellor to explore anything that's difficult, any sort of difficult symptoms, feelings, emotions, worries. A person who's been sexually assaulted loses their sense of control, struggling to sort of make sense of their sense of safety. So whether that's out and about, going out to work, to school, or trying to sleep at night, or just feel emotionally safe. And what we're doing in the therapy room really is helping people to feel safe, help them feel empowered and regain some of that control back, really.
The overwhelmingly positive feedback we get from our families, our children, adult clients that attend is really positive, and I don't think can be underestimated.
I think it offers a bit of reassurance when something absolutely awful and devastating has happened, that you've got somewhere that you can ring at any time of the day or any time of the night and be told and informed and reassured about what you can do next.
That's what's most important to me. You've been through an awful experience, and what I want them to take away is this is the first step on your road to recovery.
They just generally feel really safe. They feel really supported. They're part of a community that no one wants to be in, but they're able to get support from start to finish. We provide a service that is invaluable to clients. It can be quite a lonely road, and hopefully we just make it a little bit better for them along the way.